Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are looking at a massive, and I mean massive, narrative pivot in the ongoing story of Squashlight. Up until now, we've seen local herbalists accidentally stumble into witchcraft and, a naughty boy turned into a glowing pumpkin. But in chapters 13 and 14, the entire scale of the story changes. We're looking at a fundamental clash of worlds. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, what happens when ancient magic collides with petty local politics? I really want you to keep that question right at the top of your mind as we go through today's explainer. We are about to witness two completely different realities just crashing into one another. On one side, we have the high-stakes, deeply emotional, and ancient ecosystem of the Fey realm, and on the other, the grounded, incredibly selfish, small-town human ambition. It's a brilliant contrast, and seeing how the author builds this tension is just fascinating.
Section 1. Expanding the Mythos, the Fey Realm. Chapter 13 acts as this profound, almost melancholy zoom out for the story, where we temporarily leave behind the village and step into this wondrous, much wider magical ecosystem.
Our entry point into this wider world is a character named Cepheus Peter, or as he's known, Peter Pumpkin Eater. It's actually a title of honor he earned as a former soldier for the crown. So Peter is out on a hunting trip, wearing his patched and pied gear, just seeking a brief escape from his domestic life. Well, he hears explosions coming from the bog, and he investigates. And there, sitting in a devastated patch of vines and guts, he finds our boy Watt, who is now an unusually orange, furiously glowing pumpkin. Because of his worldly experience, Peter recognizes the chaotic magic immediately. He knows for sure he shouldn't touch it, but he also knows he has to find help.
So Peter travels to the Borderlands to call upon literally the only being he knows who can help, Habetrot, a fairy godmother. And the dynamic between these two, it adds such a beautifully bittersweet layer to the story. You see, long ago, Peter and Habetrot were deeply in love, but he is a mortal man, almost 30 now, and she is immortal, so it simply wasn't proper or meant to be. When she arrives, dimming her magical glamour just for him, she inspects the pumpkin and says, "This is the work of witchcraft, I'm afraid. However, I do not sense malice." She confirms the magic but is surprised to find it lacks evil intent. This brief reunion really grounds these immensely powerful beings with profound, relatable emotional stakes.
Section 2. The Fey Dilemma. Cosmic Rules. Now, you might be wondering, why can't a fairy godmother just wave a wand and fix a boy trapped in a pumpkin? Well, there are incredibly rigid rules governing this magical world. So, the crucial point is this concept of preternatural dips. When Habetrot communes with the pumpkin, she realizes Watt isn't just a spell, he's a living soul wrapped up in new chaotic magic. Because other magical forces, in this case the inadvertent spell cast by the reluctant witches and the restless bog, have already laid claim to him, Habetrot is legally bound by the universe's rules to completely ignore him. She literally cannot intervene. Her hands are tied by cosmic jurisdiction.
If we track Watt's physical movement in this chapter, it's actually incredibly tragic. He's found in the ruined bog, inspected by a tremendously powerful Fey who recognizes he's a living soul, and yet, because of these cosmic laws, Peter is instructed to just leave him by the side of the road. I mean, safely away from wagons, sure, but still, completely abandoned. As the text explicitly notes, Watt just kept right on glowing in the night air because that was all he could do, and it simply wasn't fair.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the next chapter, because the shift here is staggering. We just saw the Fey realm, guided by cosmic balance, ancient laws, and the noble sacrifice of unrequited love. Now we abruptly shift gears into the human realm, which is entirely driven by self-interest, survival, and just incredibly petty ambition.
Section 3. The Political Opportunist. Judge not. If the last chapter was our zoom out, chapter 14 is our zoom in, taking us directly into the claustrophobic, cynical, and highly opportunistic reality of this judge.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the absolute truth of Judge Nott's motivation. He doesn't actually care that a young boy is missing. No way. He doesn't care about the panicked villagers or the rumors of magic. His term of rule is coming to an end, and he needs the townsfolk to have a reason to keep him around. He desperately needs a minor emergency, just enough of a problem to let him swoop in, solve it, and secure his re-election without actually having to do a good job.
Just look at his cynical inner monologue. Justice was the opiate for the people. Judge Nott literally views the frightened villagers as simple subjects who just need to be pacified with a theatrical show. If he can give them the illusion of justice, he stays in power comfortably.
Because Knott views everything through this lens of political theater, he actively rationalizes away the very real magic that's happening right under his nose. He consults a local expert and concludes that these 3 spinsters in his jail couldn't possibly be real witches. Why? Well, because of mundane folklore logic. He believes covens don't just pop up. He believes they'd suffer from the curse of the fates, meaning their personalities would be fragmented into a maiden, a matron, and a crone. Since they don't fit his little textbook definition of witch, he assumes this is all just silly village foolishness. Section 4. Converging Narratives, the Collision Course. This is where the author brilliantly brings our 2 narrative tracks, the terrifying reality of the cosmic magic and the fake theatrical justice of the local government, crashing together.
Let's walk through Judge Knott's arrogant, self-serving plan as he heads to the jailhouse. And he goes without his wig, by the way, which just shows you exactly how lightly he's taking all this. Step 1. Interrogate the 3 women. Step 2. Put them in the stocks to make an example of them and give the villagers a really good show. Step 3. Coast comfortably into his re-election as the local hero. It's a beautifully simple plan formulated by a man who has absolutely no idea what he is actually dealing with.
And this brilliantly illustrates the tension of the final scene in this section. The constable brings a milking stool for the judge, then loudly rakes his club across the iron bars to wake the prisoners. The 3 ladies, who we know have literally just survived a cosmic journey, been transformed by ancient magic, and are harboring genuine supernatural power, begin to stir. As the constable walks away, they turn their full attention to Judge Knott. The claustrophobia of this small, dirty cell is just palpable. He thinks he's looking at 3 helpless pawns for his political campaign, but we know he is staring down a newly empowered, very real coven.
Which leaves us with this final, dramatic question. How will the ancient, glowing magic left sitting on the roadside inevitably crash into the corrupt, petty politics of this small-town jailhouse? Judge Knott thinks he's completely in control of the narrative, but the cosmic rules of the Fey realm tell us that chaos has only just begun to stake its claim. You absolutely won't want to miss what happens next as these 2 incredibly different worlds finally meet. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.